The air inside Nex's prime trade station smelled like a mix of spices, engine oil, and something Jake Morrison could not name. He stood at the loading dock of his cargo ship, watching hundreds of different aliens move through the busy marketplace. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others had forearms or scales that changed color. A few floated in the air using technology he did not understand. Jake had been hauling cargo between colonies for 3 years now. He kept to himself and minded his own business. That was the smart way to survive out here in the far reaches of space. Get paid, move on, and do not get involved in other people's problems. He checked his watch. The fuel crew would finish filling his tanks in 20 minutes. Then he could leave this crowded station and head to his next delivery. Jake preferred the quiet of space travel to places like this where too many beings gathered in one spot. A flash of blue caught his eye. A young female alien stood near a crystal vendor's stall about 50 meters away. Her skin was a soft blue color that seemed to glow slightly under the station's lights. She was small and delicate looking, with large eyes that reminded Jake of his sister back on Earth. The alien girl moved carefully through the crowd, clearly nervous about something. Jake had seen her kind before. They were called Villani, and they were known for being peaceful healers. Most species in the galaxy respected them because they helped anyone who was hurt, no matter what race they were. But that same peaceful nature made them easy targets for the darker elements of galactic society. 3 large figures pushed through the crowd toward the blue-skinned girl. Jake's stomach tightened when he recognized what they were. Krex warriors. Reptilian humanoids with thick scales, sharp claws, and a reputation for violence. They were slavers who captured other species and sold them to the highest bidder. Krex moved with purpose, surrounding the Villani girl without her noticing. Jake could see their leader, a big scarred brute with missing teeth and burn marks across his face. The warrior's claws were extended, and he kept one hand near the curved blade at his belt. Jake told himself to look away. This was not his problem. He was just a cargo hauler trying to make a living.
Not done making living.
Getting involved with Krex slavers was a good way to end up dead or worse. But the girl looked so scared. She reminded him too much of his younger sister, Lisa, who was probably sitting in a college classroom back on Earth right now, safe and happy. This alien girl deserved the same chance at safety. The Villani picked up a small crystal from the vendor's display, examining it closely. The crystal seller, a four-armed being with purple skin, seemed nervous. He kept glancing at the approaching Krex warriors, and then back at his customer. "Pretty crystal," the lead Krex said in rough standard language as he stepped up behind the girl, "but not as pretty as you." The Villani spun around, dropping the crystal. It shattered on the metal floor with a sound like breaking glass. Her large eyes went wide with fear as she saw the 3 warriors surrounding her. "I have done nothing wrong," she said in a soft voice. "Please leave me alone." The scarred Krex leader laughed, showing his sharp teeth. "You exist, little healer. That is crime enough. My name is Vex, and you are coming with me." "No," the girl said, backing away until she hit the vendor's stall. "I claim sanctuary under galactic trade law." "This is neutral ground," Vex laughed again. "Trade law does not apply to slaves, little one, and you are already sold." Other beings in the marketplace began to move away from the confrontation. Watched shop owners quickly close their stalls. Customers hurried toward the exits. Even the station security forces seemed to disappear. Everyone knew the rule when it came to Krex business. Do not get involved. The Villani girl looked around, desperately for help, but found none. Tears began to form in her large eyes as she realized her situation. She was alone, surrounded by predators, with nowhere to run. "Please," she whispered, "I am just trying to find my people. I have done nothing to hurt anyone." Vex drew his ceremonial blade. The weapon was 2 feet long and curved like a crescent moon. Its edge gleamed with a coating that could cut through almost any material known to science. It was as much a symbol of fear as it was a tool of death. "Your people are dead or captured," Vex said coldly. "You are the last free Villani in this sector. My buyers will pay well for such a rare prize." The girl pressed herself against the vendor's stall, trembling. She closed her eyes and seemed to be praying in her own language. Jake could see her lips moving but could not hear the words. Vex raised his blade above his head. Time to sleep, little healer. When you wake up, you will be in chains. Jake's feet moved before his brain caught up. He pushed through the few remaining bystanders and stepped directly between Vex and the terrified girl. The Krex warrior's blade was already falling when Jake appeared. "Stop," Jake said firmly. The blade struck Jake's reinforced jacket with a sound like metal hitting stone. The impact drove him to one knee, but the military-grade armor he still wore from his old life absorbed most of the blow. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he stayed upright. Vex stared at Jake in complete shock. His blade had stopped just inches from the human's neck. In all his years as a slaver, no one had ever interfered with a hunt, especially not for a stranger. Human Vex snarled, pulling his blade back. "You have made a terrible mistake." Jake stood up slowly, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. He was not as big as the Krex warriors, but he had learned to fight dirty. During his years in the Colonial Marines, more importantly, he had learned to hide his fear behind a calm expression. "The only mistake here is yours," Jake said quietly. "This is neutral ground." The girl claimed sanctuary. "Sanctuary means nothing." "Two slaves," Vex replied. "And now you will die with her." The Vellani girl grabbed Jake's arm. Her touch was surprisingly warm, and he felt some of the pain in his shoulder fade away. "You do not understand what you have done," she whispered. "They will kill us both now." Jake reached for his cum unit with one hand, while keeping his other hand near his plasma pistol. "This is Jake Morrison to all human vessels in Sector 7, he said into the device. "We have got a situation at Nexus Prime. Any assistance would be appreciated."
Ow.
The response came immediately through the cum speaker. "Copy that, Jake. This is Captain Lisa Hayes aboard the Starlight Runner. We are 5 minutes out with a full crew." Vex's expression changed from anger to calculation. One human he could handle easily, but humans were known for traveling in groups and fighting together. If more were coming, the situation had become more complicated. "This is not over." "Human," Vex said, sheathing his blade. "The Krex remember. We'll find you both, and when we do, death will be a mercy." The 3 Krex warriors backed away from Jake and the girl, but they did not leave the marketplace. Instead, they moved to the exits and stationed themselves there. They would wait and watch for their chance. Jake helped the trembling Vellani to her feet. "Are you hurt?" "No," she said softly, "but you are bleeding." Jake looked down at his shoulder. Blood was seeping through his jacket where Vex's blade had struck. "I will be fine." "What is your name, Zara?" she said. "Zara Keth, and you just saved my life?" Jake looked around the marketplace at the Krex warriors, watching them from the exits. "I am not sure I saved anything yet. We need to get out of here." The sound of ship engines echoed through the station as the Starlight Runner docked. Jake smiled grimly. Help had arrived, but he had a feeling their problems were just beginning. The Starlight Runner's docking clamps locked into place with a loud metal clang that echoed through the marketplace. Jake kept his eyes on the 3 Krex warriors while helping Zara stay close to the vendor stalls. The reptilian slavers had positioned themselves at each exit, cutting off any escape routes. Captain Lisa Hayes stepped off her ship with 4 crew members behind her. She was a woman in her 40s, with short gray hair and the kind of steady eyes that came from years of dealing with trouble. Her crew carried plasma rifles and wore the blue uniforms of independent merchants. "Jake Morrison," she called out as she approached. "You always did know how to find problems." "Nice to see you too, Lisa," Jake replied, wincing as pain shot through his shoulder. "Thanks for coming." Lisa looked at Zara, then at the Krex warriors watching from the exits. "So this is what we are dealing with. 1 scared girl and 3 angry slavers?" "For angry slavers," Jake corrected, pointing to where a 4th Krex had joined Vex near the main entrance. "And they are not going to let us walk out of here." Zara pressed herself against Jake's uninjured side. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted anyone to get hurt because of me." "Nobody's getting hurt on my watch," Lisa said firmly. She keyed her cum unit. "This is Captain Hayes, 2 Nexus Prime Security. We have a situation in Marketplace Section 7. Krex slavers are threatening peaceful traders." The bored voice answered through the cum. Captain Hayes, this is Security Chief Grix. Unless actual violence has occurred, we cannot intervene in business disputes. Lisa's jaw tightened. Business disputes? They're trying to kidnap someone. The Krex have proper documentation for their claim, Grix replied. Station policy is clear about non-interference. Jake spat on the floor. Station policy means they got paid to look the other way. Vex seemed to sense that help was not coming from station security. He walked slowly toward Jake and the others, his claws clicking against the metal floor. The other Krex warriors began closing in from their positions. Human Captain Vex called out, "You can leave with your ship and crew. This matter does not concern you." Actually, it does, Lisa replied. Jake called for help, and humans help each other. That is how we work. The scarred Krex leader stopped about 10 feet away. Then you will die with them. The Villani belongs to us. Right. The Villani has a name, Jake said, stepping forward, and she does not belong to anyone. Vex's eyes narrowed. You do not understand. Our way's human. This female is property. She was claimed during the raid on the Villani homeworld. Oh, I understand perfectly, Jake said. You attack peaceful people and steal their freedom. Where I come from, we call that evil, the Krex warriors. Scales seemed to darken with anger. Evil. We are predators. It is our nature to hunt. The weak serve the strong. This is the way of the galaxy. Maybe in your part of the galaxy, Lisa said. But humans see things differently. Vex laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Humans are new to space. You do not understand how. Things work out here. The strong take what they want. The weak suffer. This has always been the way. Jake felt Zara trembling beside him. Her blue skin had gone pale, and he could see that she was struggling not to cry. Whatever had happened, on her homeworld, it had left deep scars. The way things have always been does not make them right, Jake said. Someone has to stand up to bullies like you. Stand up, Vex drew his curved blade again. You stood up once, human. See how well that worked for you? The Krex leader pointed to the blood-staining Jake's jacket. My blade tasted your blood. Next time, it will drink deeper. Lisa's crew raised their weapons, but Vex seemed unconcerned. Station security will not allow a firefight here. They add much risk to other traders. You cannot shoot, and we cannot be stopped. Jake realized the Krex was right. A gun battle in the crowded marketplace would cause civilian casualties. Even if they won, they would be banned from every trade station in the sector. Then we do this the hard way, Jake said, pulling out his plasma pistol but keeping it pointed at the floor. Vex smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The hard way? You mean honorable combat? One-on-one? I mean whatever it takes to protect her, Jake replied. The Krex warrior's expression changed. He seemed genuinely confused by Jake's words. Would fight me alone? For a stranger? For an alien? She's not just an alien, Jake said. She is a person, and she asked for help. Vex looked around at the other humans, then back at Jake. Your people will not help you if you lose. My people will do whatever is necessary, Lisa said firmly. That is what humans do. The Krex leader studied Jake for a long moment. You interest me, human. In all my years, I have never seen anyone risk their life for a stranger. Why do you do this? Jake thought about his sister back on Earth, he thought. About all the times he had wished someone would have helped him when he was in trouble. Because it is the right thing to do. The right thing. Vex repeated the words like they were in a foreign language. What is right about dying for nothing? She is not nothing, Jake said quietly. No one is nothing. Zara looked up at Jake, with wonder in her large eyes. You really mean that, don't you? You would die for someone you just met. I would die for anyone who needed help, Jake replied. That is what makes us human. Vex seemed to consider this. Your species is strange. But bravery deserves respect, even from enemies. He sheathed his blade. I will give you one chance, human. Walk away now, and you will live. Stay, and you will die when we take the Villani. I am not walking away, Jake said, without hesitation. Then, you are a fool, Vex replied. but a brave fool. The Krex leader turned to his warriors and spoke in their harsh language. Jake could not understand the words, but he could hear the tone. They were making plans. Lisa moved closer to Jake. Are you thinking we cannot fight them here? We do not have to fight them here, Jake said. Just have to get to your ship. The exits are blocked, one of Lisa's crew members pointed out. They have us trapped. Jake looked around the marketplace. Most of the vendors had packed up and left, but a few remained. The crystal seller who had been serving Zara was still there, cleaning up his broken merchandise. Not all the exits, Jake said. There are service tunnels that connect to the docking bays. How do you know that? Lisa asked. I used to be a colonial marine, Jake replied. First thing you learn is to know your escape routes. On Jake's sleeve, the Krex know about the tunnels, too. They have been planning this for days. Jake looked down at her. How do you know that? Because they have been hunting me for weeks, she said softly. This is not the first station where they have tried to catch me. I know their methods. Lisa frowned. What exactly are you not telling us, girl? Zara looked scared, but she met Lisa's eyes. My name is Zara Keth. I am the last free member of the Villani Council. The Krex want me because I carry information they need. What kind of information? Jake asked. Zara reached into her clothing and pulled out a small data chip, the location of the last Villani colony. If they get this, my people will have nowhere left to hide. Vex's voice echoed across the marketplace. Time is running out, humans. Surrender the Villani, and you can leave in peace. Jake looked at the data chip in Zara's hand. Such a small thing, but it represented the survival of an entire species. We are not surrendering anyone, he called back. Then you have chosen death, Vex replied. The Krex warriors began moving closer, their claws extended and ready for battle. Jake knew they were running out of time and options. But he also knew one thing for certain. He would not let them take Zara? Without a fight? Lisa, he said quietly, get your people ready. This is about to get very ugly. Already on it, she replied, checking her weapon. So much for a quiet supply run. Jake smiled grimly. Welcome to my life. The medical bay aboard the Starlight Runner was small but clean. Jake sat on the examination table while Zara worked on his injured shoulder. Her hands glowed with a soft blue light as she touched the wound where Vex's blade had cut him. Is amazing, Jake said, watching the pain fade away. I can actually feel it healing. Zara smiled for the first time since he had met her. My people are natural healers. We can repair most injuries if we catch them early enough. Lucky for me, Jake replied. He flexed his shoulder and found that it moved without pain. Thank you for saving my life, Zara said softly. I still cannot believe you risked everything for a stranger. Captain Lisa Hayes stood in the doorway watching them work. Jake always was too stubborn for his own good, she said. But I have to ask why you did it. You could have been killed. Jake thought about the question. I saw someone in trouble who needed help. That was enough. Enough to start a war, Lisa asked, because that is what you might have done. What do you mean? Jake asked. Lisa activated the wall screen and showed them a news report. The headline read, Human interferes in Krex business. Diplomatic crisis possible. The story is already spreading through the trade networks, Lisa explained. Some species are calling you a hero. Others are saying you had no right to interfere. Jake watched the news report with growing concern. I just helped someone. How did that become a diplomatic crisis? Because the Krex are not just slavers, Zara said quietly. They are part of a large empire that controls dozens of star systems. What you did was seen as an insult to their entire culture. Lisa nodded. The Krex Empire follows a strict code. The strong rule the weak. By protecting Zara, you challenged that code in public. Good, Jake said firmly. Their code is wrong. I agree, Lisa replied, but that does not make the situation any less dangerous. The ship's engineer, Pete Collins, entered the medical bay.
Ow!
He was a young man with grease-stained coveralls and a worried expression. Captain, we have got a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up Krex ships following us. How many? Lisa asked. 3 war cruisers and a command ship, Pete replied. They are staying just outside weapons range, but they are definitely tracking us. Jake stood up from the examination table. They are following us because of me. They are following us because of what you represent, Zara corrected. Showed the galaxy that someone will stand up to the Krex. That scares them. Lisa studied the sensor data on her portable screen. We need to get you both to human space. As quickly as possible, the Krex will not attack us there. Why not? Jake asked. Because humans have a reputation, Lisa explained. We are new to the galaxy, but we have already made it clear that we protect our own. Attack one human, and you attack all of us. Amy Chen, the ship's navigator, joined them in the medical bay. She was a small woman with short black hair and quick eyes. Captain, I've been monitoring Galactic news feeds. The story's getting bigger. What kind of bigger? Lisa asked. Several species are calling for trade boycotts against the Krex, Amy replied. The Altarians are refusing to sell them weapons. The Centauri have closed their space lanes to Krex ships. Jake stared at the news reports. All of this because I helped one person? Because you showed them it was possible? Zara said. For too long? Everyone has been afraid of the Krex. But you proved they can be stood up too. Lisa frowned at the tactical display. The Krex ships are getting closer. They are testing our defenses. What do we do? Pete asked. We run, Lisa said simply. The Starlight Runner is fast, and we know these trade routes better than they do. Jake looked at Zara. Tell me about this data chip you carry. What makes it so important? Zara pulled out the small device again. When the Krex attacked our homeworld, most of my people were killed or captured. But some escaped to a hidden colony in the Veil Nebula. This chip contains the exact coordinates. Why do the Krex want it so badly? Amy asked. Because my people have something they need, Zara explained. Our healing abilities are not just natural gifts. We also have advanced medical technology that can cure diseases the Krex cannot treat. Jake understood immediately. They want to capture your people to use as living medical equipment. Exactly, Zara said. If they find the hidden colony, they will enslave every Villani there. Men, women, and children will all become property. Lisa looked at the sensor readings again. The Krex ships are moving into attack formation. They are done waiting. We outrun them? Jake asked. Maybe, Pete said. But not for long. Their ships are built for war. Ours is built for cargo.
Oh.
Jake made a decision. Then we make a deal with them. They can have me, but they leave Zara and the data chip alone. Zara said immediately. I will not let you sacrifice yourself for me. It is not just for you, Jake replied. It is for all your people hiding in that colony. Lisa shook her head. Nobody is making deals with slavers. We stick together. Why? Jake asked. You barely know me, and you do not know her at all? Because that is what humans do, Lisa said firmly. We protect each other, and we protect anyone who needs protecting. Amy looked up from her navigation console. Captain, I have an idea. The Kepler asteroid field is only 2 hours away. Could lose them in there. That field is a ship graveyard, Pete warned. The asteroids are full of rare metals that scramble sensors and navigation systems, which means they cannot track us, Lisa said. But it also means we could get lost ourselves. Jake studied the star charts. What are our other options? We could try to reach the human naval base at Meridian Station, Amy suggested. It is heavily defended. That is 3 days away, Lisa pointed out. The Krex will catch us long before. Then Zara had been quiet during the discussion. Now she spoke up. There is another option. We could go to the Villani colony. Everyone turned to look at her. That would lead the Krex right to your people, Jake said. Not if we arrive first, Zara replied. The colony has defenses. And if we warn them, they can evacuate before the Krex arrive. Lisa considered this. How do we know they will not just capture all of us? Because I know my people, Zara said. They will fight to protect the data chip, even if it means fighting. To protect humans, too. Pete looked at the sensor display. Captain, we need to decide now. The Krex are almost in weapons range. Jake looked around at the faces of the crew. These people had risked their lives to help him save a stranger. They were all in danger because of his choices. "I am sorry," he said. "This is all my fault." "No," Lisa said firmly. "This is exactly what humans should do. We saw someone in trouble, and we helped. That is who we are." Amy nodded in agreement. "My grandmother used to say that you judge a person by how they treat strangers. I think that applies to entire species, too." "The Kreks are powering up weapons," Pete announced. "We have about 30 seconds before they open fire." Lisa took control of the ship's helm. "Hold on, everyone. We are going to the asteroid field." "Are you sure about this?" Jake asked. "No," Lisa replied. "But I am sure about doing the right thing." The Starlight Runner's engines roared to life as the ship changed course toward the dangerous asteroid field. Behind them, the Kreks warships followed their weapons, charging for battle. Jake looked at Zara, who was gripping her data chip tightly. "Whatever happens, we will protect your people." "I know," she said. "That is what makes humans special. You fight for others even when it costs you everything." "Not everything," Jake corrected. "We fight for what matters most." As the ship raced toward the asteroid field, Jake realized that his simple act of stepping between a blade and an innocent girl had changed everything. The galaxy was watching, and humans had shown what they stood for. Now they just had to survive long enough to make it count. The Starlight Runner shook violently as it entered the Kepler asteroid field. Giant rocks the size of buildings floated through space around them, spinning slowly in the darkness. The metal inside the asteroids made strange patterns on the ships sensors, turning the view screen into a confusing mess of blinking lights. "I can barely see anything," Amy said from the navigation station. "The asteroids are blocking our sensors." Captain Lisa Hayes gripped the ship's controls tightly. "That means the Kreks cannot see us either. Just have to hope we do not crash into anything." Jake stood behind her, watching the massive rocks drift past the ship's windows. Some of the asteroids were so big they had their own gravity pulling smaller rocks into orbit around them. "How do we know where we are going?" "We do not," Lisa admitted. "We're flying blind and hoping for the best." Pete Collins looked up from the engine controls. "Captain, the Kreks ships just entered the field behind us. They are moving slower than us, but they are still following." "I must really want Zara," Jake said. Zara sat at a small table, holding her data chip. "It is not just me they want. It is what I represent. If they can capture me after all the attention my rescue has gotten, it will send a message to the galaxy." "What kind of message?" Amy asked. "That humans are not as brave as everyone thinks," Zara replied. "That when things get dangerous, you will abandon your allies to save yourselves." Jake felt anger building in his chest. "We are not abandoning anyone." "I know," Zara said softly, "but the Kreks do not understand that yet." The ship's communication system crackled to life. A deep, harsh voice filled the cabin. "Human vessel, this is War Commander Vex of the Kreks battlecruiser Bloodfang. You are surrounded and have no escape." Lisa activated the reply system. "This is Captain Hayes. We are in neutral space. You have no authority here." Vex's laugh was like the sound of grinding metal. "Authority comes from strength, human. We are stronger than you." "Maybe," Lisa replied, "but we are smarter. Smart enough to hide in an asteroid field like frightened children," Vex said. "But you cannot hide forever. Our sensors are better than yours. We'll find you." Jake took the communication microphone. "From Lisa Vex, this is Jake Morrison. You want me, not them?" "Let the others go, and I will surrender myself," Noble Vex replied. "But stupid. I want the Villani and her data chip. You were just a bonus." "The chip was destroyed," Jake lied. "It got damaged when your blade hit me." There was silence on the communication channel for several seconds. Then Vex spoke again, his voice full of rage. "You lie, human. The Villani would never travel without protecting that information." Zara gestured for Jake to give her the microphone. "War Commander Vex, this is Zara Keth. I challenge you to single combat for my freedom." "Zara, no," Jake said quickly. But Vex was already responding. "A Villani wants to fight a Kreks warrior? This is amusing. You are a healer, little one. Have no weapons, no training, no chance." "I have something better," Zara replied. "I have something worth fighting for." Jake understood what she was doing. She was buying us time, he whispered to Lisa. Time for what? Lisa whispered back. Jake pointed to the largest asteroid on their sensors. It was massive, almost like a small moon, with dozens of smaller rocks orbiting around it. That asteroid has mining charges attached to it. I can see the blast markers. Pete looked at the sensor display. Those charges must be from an old mining operation, but they would be unstable after all this time. Exactly, Jake said. If we could set them off, we could create a debris field that would block the Krex ships. Amy studied the asteroid's position. We would have to get very close to activate the charges. Someone would have to go outside the ship to do it. We'll go, Jake said immediately. No, Zara said. I will go. My people can survive in space longer than humans. Lisa shook her head. Nobody's going outside while the Krex are shooting at us. Vex's voice came through the communication system again. I grow tired of games, Villani. Surrender now, or we will destroy your human friends. You will have to catch us first, Zara replied. The ship suddenly shook as energy blasts struck the asteroid next to them. Pieces of rock flew past the windows like deadly rain. They found us, Pete announced. 3 Krex fighters are closing in fast. Lisa pushed the ship's engines to maximum power. Everyone hold on. This is going to get rough. The Starlight Runner dove between 2 large asteroids, using them as cover from the Krex weapons. But the enemy fighters were smaller and faster, able to follow them through the tight spaces. We cannot outrun them, Amy said. They are gaining on us. Jake made a decision. Take us to the big asteroid with the mining charges. I am going outside. Jake, that is suicide, Lisa said. You will be exposed to weapons fire. Someone has to do it, Jake replied. And I am the one who got us into this mess. Zara grabbed his arm. You did not get us into anything. You saved my life. Now let me save yours. Before anyone could stop her, Zara ran toward the ship's airlock. Jake chased after her, but she was already putting on a spacesuit. My people evolved on a world with thin atmosphere, she explained quickly. I can hold my breath in space for almost an hour. You can only survive for minutes. But the mining charges are designed for human technology, Jake argued. You will not know how to activate them. Then you will have to teach me, Zara said, handing him another spacesuit. Lisa's voice came through the ship's communication system. Whatever you two are planning, do it fast. We have got 4 more Krex ships incoming. Jake and Zara finished putting on their spacesuits. Jake checked the seals on Zara's helmet while she did the same for him. Are you sure about this? Jake asked. No, Zara replied. But I am sure about trusting you. They entered the airlock together. Jake activated his suit's communication system so he could stay in contact with the ship. He said, take us in as close as you can to the mining charges. Copy that, Lisa replied. You have got about 10 minutes before the main Krex fleet arrives. The airlock opened, and Jake and Zara floated out into space. The asteroid loomed huge in front of them, its surface covered with old mining equipment and explosive charges. The Krex fighters were still chasing the Starlight Runner, but they had not noticed the 2 small figures drifting toward the asteroid. There, Jake said, pointing to a cluster of mining charges attached to the asteroid's surface. If we can activate those, the chain reaction should split the asteroid apart. Zara nodded and followed him toward the charges. Moving in zero gravity was difficult, but they managed to reach the asteroid's surface and grab onto the mining equipment. How do we activate them? Zara asked. Jake examined the charges. They were old, but still functional. We need to connect these 2 wires and then get away fast. As Jake worked on the charges, Zara kept watch for the Krex fighters. Jake, they are coming this way. I think they saw us. Almost finished, Jake said, his hand shaking inside his gloves.
Yes.
Just need 2. There. The mining charges began to glow with a warning light. Jake grabbed Zara's hand and activated their suit thrusters. We need to get away from here now. They flew away from the asteroid as fast as their thrusters could carry them. Behind them, the Krex fighters opened fire. But the energy blasts hit the asteroid instead of the escaping humans. 10 seconds to detonation, Jake announced over the communication system. The mining charges exploded in a chain reaction that split the massive
Asteroids?
asteroid into thousands of pieces. The debris cloud spread outward like a giant wall, blocking the path between the Krex, ships, and the Starlight Runner. "It worked," Amy announced from the ship. "The Krex cannot get through the debris field." But their celebration was short-lived. Vex's voice came through the communication system one more time. "Clever humans. But this changes nothing. We know where you are going. We will be waiting." As the Starlight Runner picked up Jake and Zara, Jake realized that Vex was right. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. 3 days later, the Starlight Runner docked at Meridian Station, the largest human naval base in the Outer Rim. Admiral Robert Kane was waiting for them when they stepped off the ship. He was a tall man with gray hair and the kind of serious, an expression that came from making life and death decisions every day. "Mr. Morrison," the Admiral said, shaking Jake's hand, "your story has reached all the way to Earth. The Colonial Council wants to know more about what happened." Jake felt uncomfortable with all the attention. "I just helped someone who needed it, sir. Nothing more? Nothing more?" Admiral Kane smiled. "Son, you started the biggest diplomatic crisis the galaxy has seen in 50 years, the Admiral led them through the station's corridors to his office. The walls were covered with star charts and tactical displays showing ship movements throughout human space. Jake could see dozens of red dots representing Krex vessels moving toward the border. "Krex Empire has issued an official demand," Admiral Kane explained as they sat down. "They want you and Miss Keth handed over to them immediately." "What did the Colonial Council say?" Jake asked. "They told the Krex to go to hell," the Admiral replied with a grin. But more diplomatically, Zara looked worried. "What does this mean for your people? The Krex Empire is very powerful." Admiral Kane activated a large display screen that showed the current political situation. "Actually, Miss Keth, your rescue has changed everything. 6 different species have offered military support to humanity. The Altarians, the Centauri, even the usually neutral Andromedans." "Why?" Jake asked. "What did I do that was so special?" "You showed the galaxy that someone will stand up to bullies," the Admiral explained. "For too long, everyone has been afraid of the Krex, but you proved they can be beaten." Amy Chen, who had come with them from the ship, pointed to the tactical display. "Sir, what are all those ships doing at our border?" "The Krex are massing for an invasion," Admiral Kane said seriously. "They want to make an example of humanity. Show everyone what happens when you interfere with their business." Jake felt sick. To his stomach, "This is my fault. All those people are going to die because of what I did." "No," Zara said firmly. "They are going to die because the Krex choose violence over justice. You choose to save a life. That is not the same thing." Admiral Kane nodded in agreement. "Miss Keth is right. And there is something else you need to know." He activated another display that showed a data analysis of Zara's chip. "The information you protected contains more than just the location." "Of the Villani colony?" "What do you mean?" Zara asked. "Your data chip also contains detailed plans of Krex military installations," the Admiral explained. "Apparently, your people were very good at gathering intelligence during their captivity." Jake stared at the display. "You mean we have information that could help win a war against the Krex?" "Exactly," Admiral Kane said. "Your act of heroism did not just save one person. It gave us the tools we need to fight back." Over the next few hours, Jake and Zara met with military planners and intelligence officers. The information on the data chip revealed weaknesses in Krex defenses that no one had known about. More importantly, it showed the locations of prison camps where thousands of captured beings were being held as slaves. Colonel Martinez said during one of the planning meetings, "But it would require a coordinated attack across multiple star systems." "How many ships would we need?" Jake asked. "Every ship we have," the colonel replied. "Every ship our new allies can provide." That evening, Jake and Zara sat in the station's observation lounge, looking out at the stars. Dozens of human warships were visible in the distance, preparing for battle. "Do you regret it?" Zara asked quietly. "Helping me, I mean? Look what it has led to." Jake thought about the question. "No. I regret that it came to this, but I do not regret helping you, even if thousands die in the coming war." "Thousands were already dying," Jake replied. "The Krex have been enslaving people for decades. At least now someone is fighting back." Zara smiled sadly. My people have a saying, the tree that stands alone in the storm will fall, but the forest that stands together will survive. I like that, Jake said. Humans have a similar saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Captain Lisa Hayes joined them in the observation lounge. The final battle plans are ready, she announced. The combined fleet will launch in 6 hours. What about the Villani colony? Zara asked. Are they safe? We sent a warning, Lisa replied. They evacuated to a secure location. The Krex will find nothing when they arrive. Jake watched the warships moving into formation outside the station. How many species are fighting with us? 12, Lisa said, including some we never expected. Even the mysterious shadows have. Sent a ship? The shadows. Zara looked surprised. They never get involved in galactic politics. Apparently they make exceptions for slavers, Lisa explained. Admiral Kane's voice came through the station's communication system. All personnel. 2 battle stations. The Krex fleet has been detected entering our space. Jake stood up from his chair. I want to fight with you. You are not a soldier anymore, Lisa pointed out. Maybe not, Jake replied. But this war started because of me. Should help finish it. Admiral Kane appeared in the doorway of the observation lounge. Actually, Mr. Morrison, I have a different job for you. We want you and Miss Keth aboard the flagship during the battle. Why? Jake asked. Because this war is about more than military victory, the Admiral explained. It is about showing the galaxy what humanity stands for, and you two represent that better than anyone. The next few hours passed quickly. Jake and Zara were taken aboard the battleship Defiant, the most powerful warship in the human fleet. As they approached the battle zone, Jake could see the Krex armada waiting for them. Hundreds of dark ships filled with weapons and warriors ready for war. Incoming transmission from the Krex flagship, the communication officer announced. Put it on screen, Admiral Kane ordered. Vex appeared on the main display, his scarred face twisted with rage. Admiral Kane, surrender the humans who interfered. With Krex business, and we will spare your pathetic fleet? Counteroffer, Admiral Kane replied calmly. Surrender your entire fleet, free all your slaves, and we will let you live. Vex laughed harshly. You think your small alliance can defeat the Krex Empire? We have conquered 100 worlds. But you have never fought humans before, Jake said, stepping into view of the camera. Vex's expression changed when he saw Jake. The meddling human, you should have minded your own business. Helping people is my business, Jake replied. And today business is good.
Battle that followed that battle. 6 hours.
The combined fleet fought with courage and determination, using the intelligence from Zara's data chip to target Krex weaknesses. Ship after ship fell on both sides, but slowly the alliance began to win. In the end, Vex's flagship was surrounded and disabled. The war commander was forced to surrender, along with most of his fleet. It is over, Zara said as they watched the last Krex ship surrendering. No, Jake replied, looking at the star charts showing freed prison camps and liberated worlds. It is just beginning. Admiral Kane joined them on the bridge. The Krex Empire has agreed to a ceasefire. They want to negotiate. What are the terms? Jake asked. Freedom for all slaves, reparations to damaged worlds, and a guarantee that they will never attack peaceful species again, the Admiral said. Jake looked at Zara, then back at the Admiral. And if they refuse, then we keep fighting until they agree, Admiral Kane said simply. Months later, Jake and Zara stood together on the bridge of a new ship called the Unity. Their mission was to help coordinate the new galactic alliance that had formed after the war. Species that had never trusted each other were now working together to keep the peace. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had just walked away that day? Zara asked. Jake smiled and looked out at the stars where ships from dozens of worlds flew together in formation. Sometimes, then I remember that one moment of choosing to help can change everything. For the better? Zara asked. Always for the better, Jake replied. That is what makes us who we are. As the Unity sailed toward their next mission, Jake reflected on how far they had all come. One human had jumped between a blade and an alien. Girl and the entire galaxy had learned what humanity was capable of when they chose to stand up for what was right.